It started as a shitpost. Then the timestamps stopped making sense. Screenshots, edits, and a user that never existed. You've tuned in to LurmoStories, where glitchy threads and broken timelines aren't bugs, they're warnings. Don't look away now. This is where it gets worse. A non-post, small town in the Midwest. I went to GameStop because I wanted a specific copy of an old PS2 game. Not rare, just discontinued. I'd checked online, but the site said in-store availability unknown. The store's in this weird municipal complex downtown. Same building as the records office and a voter registration desk. Small towns do that. It was late afternoon, fluorescent lights, quiet. No music playing, which I noticed right away. Just the hum of the air system and a printer clicking somewhere behind the counter. There was one cashier, early 30s, polo shirt, name tag turned backward like he didn't care. I said the title of the game out loud. Didn't show my phone, didn't spell it. He nodded once and said, "Yeah, we have it." Didn't ask for the system, didn't check a terminal. He turned and walked to the back. Not the stock room, past it. Through a door marked Authorized Personnel, City Use. I figured he'd made a mistake. I waited. A minute passed. Then two. I could hear footsteps behind the wall. Slow, measured, like someone walking a hallway they knew very well. He came back holding the game. No case, just the disc in a clear sleeve with a white sticker. The sticker had my full name printed on it. First and last, correct spelling. I asked how he found it so fast. He said, "You've checked before." I told him I hadn't. I don't live near this store. I was just passing through for a courthouse appointment. He slid the disc across the counter and turned the monitor slightly. The screen wasn't the usual inventory system. It looked like a form. Gray background. My name again. Under it, dates, times, locations, libraries, stores, a hospital waiting room from 3 years ago. He noticed me looking and turned it back. "Cash or card?" he asked. My throat felt tight, but my voice worked. I asked how much. "Already paid," he said. "Same as last time." I said that wasn't possible. He leaned closer, lowered his voice, and said, "You always say that." That's when I noticed the building directory behind him. Where GameStop should have been, the plastic strip was blank. Just a clean slot like the name had been removed. I took the disc and left. Outside, the sun was still up. Cars passed, normal sounds, but when I looked back at the building, every window on the second floor was dark except one. And someone was standing in it, holding a clear sleeve, waiting. I didn't drive away right away. I sat in my car with the engine off, disc on the passenger seat. The sleeve felt heavier than it should have when I picked it up, like it had weight beyond plastic. I checked the disc. The surface was clean, no scratches. The title was handwritten in black marker, neat block letters. Under it, a date from 8 years ago, back when I still lived 2 states over. I went back inside the building. The GameStop lights were off. The gate was halfway down, frozen mid-drop. No cashier, no counter noise, no hum. The rest of the municipal offices were still open. People waiting on benches, a security guard sipping coffee, a woman arguing at a window about paperwork. I asked the guard if the game store had closed early. He looked confused, asked me what store. I pointed. He frowned and walked over with me. Up close, there was no sign of a retail space anymore. Just a glass wall with an old city seal etched into it. Behind it, rows of metal shelves with banker's boxes, each labeled with names. Thousands of them. The guard told me this used to be Records Annex B, closed after the audit. He said it like I should know what that meant. I left again, this time for real. At home, I tried to throw the disc away. My trash can was empty, except for a clear sleeve with a white sticker already inside. My name, today's date. That night, I powered up my old PS2. I don't know why, curiosity maybe, or habit. The game booted straight into a save file, not a menu, a paused screen. It was a first-person view of a parking lot. My parking lot. Same angle as my living room window. Same dented lamppost. Same trash can by my car. In the corner of the screen, a timer was running. Not counting up, counting down. I shut the console off, unplugged it, sat in the dark listening to my building settle. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. "You're early this time." I didn't respond. Outside, footsteps crossed the lot. Slow. Familiar. Someone stopped near my car and stood there for a long time. Then the timer sound started, from the trash can. I didn't look out the window. I already knew what I'd see. The timer sound wasn't loud, just a soft electronic chirp, steady and patient, like it could wait all night. I grabbed my keys and left through the back stairwell, heart pounding but head clear in a way I didn't expect. The parking lot was empty when I circled around. No person, no movement, just my car and the trash can beside it. The chirping had stopped. Inside the can was the PS2 disc, still in its sleeve. The white sticker had been updated. Same name, new time, 10 minutes from now. I drove, didn't plan where, ended up back downtown without realizing it. Streetlights flickered like they were on a delay. The municipal building was lit on every floor now, bright enough to hurt my eyes. I went inside because the doors were unlocked. No security guard, no waiting benches, just silence and the smell of old paper. Where the records annex glass had been, there was an open hallway leading down. The shelves were gone. In their place were rows of TV screens mounted into the walls. Every screen showed a paused first-person view. Different places, different angles. One of them was my living room. A voice came from behind me, calm and tired. You keep interrupting your own process. The cashier stood there without the uniform, just a badge clipped to his belt. City seal, no name. He said the games were never games. They were records, behavioral loops. How people move, where they hesitate, when they leave instead of staying. Most people never noticed when their copy got filed. Mine kept resurfacing. He handed me the disc. The timer on the nearest screen resumed. 30 seconds. "Put it back," he said. "Finish where you stopped last time." I asked, "What happens if I don't?" He shrugged. "We make a new save." I looked at the screen of my living room. On it, the front door was opening. I don't remember deciding. I just slid the disc into the slot built into the wall beneath the screen. The timer hit 0. Every screen went black. The lights shut off. When I came to, I was sitting on my couch, PS2 humming quietly, sunlight through the window like any other morning. On the TV was the game's title screen for the first time. No save file loaded, just one option blinking softly. Downtown, the municipal directory has a new listing now. Records Annex B is back, and there's a GameStop inside it again. Posting anon because I don't want this tied back to me. Took my car to a small independent shop off a frontage road outside town. Not a chain, just a brick building with 2 bays and a hand-painted sign. Needed a basic inspection and brake pads. The guy at the counter was older, gray mustache, shop shirt with a stitched name that looked like it had been replaced at least once. He wrote everything down on a carbon copy slip, read it back to me. Pads, inspection, call before anything else. I nodded, he nodded. Normal interaction. Shop smelled like oil and old coffee. Radio playing talk quietly in the back. Nothing off. He said it'd be ready by the next afternoon. When I came back, my car was parked out front, washed. That already felt strange. I didn't pay for a wash, but some shops do that to be nice. The counter guy smiled and said, "All set." He handed me an invoice thicker than expected. Brake pads were there, inspection fee too. Then a list of other things. Coolant flush, belt replacement, cabin filter, fuel system cleaning. Not cheap stuff. I told him I didn't approve any of that. He didn't argue, just looked at the paper, then at me, like I'd said something out of order. "You did," he said, calm, certain. I said no, I was very clear about calling first. He tapped the invoice with one finger. "You came back in, around noon, said to go ahead." I told him that wasn't possible. I was at work all day. He shrugged slightly and said, "Happens more than you think." That was the first time I noticed there was no camera behind the counter. No photos on the wall, no calendar. The radio was off now. I asked if anyone else worked there. He said, "Just whoever scheduled." I asked to see the old parts. Every shop keeps them if you ask. He opened a bin and showed me a belt, a filter, some hoses. All dirty, all plausibly mine. But one hose had a strip of blue paint on it. My car never had blue paint anywhere under the hood. I pointed it out. He stared at it for a second, then took the hose away and dropped it into a larger trash barrel behind the counter. "You don't want that back," he said. I asked how much I owed for just the original work. He slid the invoice closer to me again. Total circled. "Car won't run right without the rest," he said. "Wouldn't have let you leave unsafe." I paid. I wanted out of there. When I got in the car, the seat was adjusted differently. Mirrors, too. The radio preset wasn't mine. One station saved, AM only, static heavy, no call sign. On the passenger seat was the carbon copy slip. My signature was on it. And underneath, in smaller handwriting, was a time written in pen. 12:17 p.m. I drove home checking the mirrors the whole way, half expecting to see someone else in the back seat. Car ran fine. too fine. Engine quieter than it had ever been, like the sound was being dampened. At home, I pulled the slip back out and looked at the signature. It was mine, technically. Same loops, same slant, but the pressure was wrong. Heavier in places I didn't normally press hard, like someone copying muscle memory without the muscle. I checked my phone. At 12:17 p.m., I'd been on a conference call. Calendar, emails, everything backed that up. That night, I popped the hood. I know my way around cars enough to recognize what's new. Parts were definitely replaced. Clean bolts, fresh clamps. But there were markings I didn't recognize. Small dots of white grease pencil on the firewall, the strut tower, the underside of the hood. Not mechanic notes, too deliberate, almost like alignment marks. The next morning, my check engine light came on. I drove back to the shop before work. Same building, same sign, bay doors open. Different guy at the counter, younger, no mustache. I said I was there yesterday and had an issue. He looked confused and asked what car. I told him. He checked the computer. We haven't seen that vehicle in weeks. I said I paid cash and showed him the invoice. He studied it longer than I liked. Then he turned it over and frowned. This isn't our paper, he said. Old version. We stopped using carbon copies last year. I asked about the older mechanic. He asked me to describe him. When I did, he nodded slowly. Yeah, that's Frank. I asked where Frank was. He said Frank didn't work there anymore. I asked when he left. He said, after the incident. I asked what incident. He hesitated, then said they don't let customers talk about it because it caused problems before. I pressed, told him Frank charged me for work I didn't approve, and claimed I came back during the day. The younger guy went quiet. Then he asked me a question that didn't make sense at the time. Did he finish the work? I said yes. He exhaled through his nose and said, then you're lucky. He told me Frank had a habit of finishing things people hadn't agreed to yet. Not just cars. Always said it was better to be ahead of schedule. I asked where Frank was now. He said, no one's seen him since he stayed late to finish a job that never got picked up. I left. Didn't argue. On the drive to work, the AM station turned on by itself. Through the static, a man's voice said, very clearly, took care of it. When I got home that night, my garage door was open. The car was parked inside, engine still warm. I checked the house first. Nothing missing, nothing moved. Garage door opener was still in my car, clipped where I always keep it. No sign of forced entry, no footprints. Just the car, backed perfectly into the garage, centered better than I ever manage. On the driver's seat was a receipt. Not an invoice, a receipt. No logo, no shop name, just a list typed in plain text. Work completed ahead of approval. Below it was a checklist. Some items were things I recognized, brakes, belts, fluids. Others weren't. Corrected idle variance. Resolved long-term wear. Adjusted driver fit. Aligned future failure points. At the bottom was a total of $0.00. Under that, a single sentence. Balance restored. I didn't drive the car for 2 days. Took rides, worked from home. On the third day, I noticed the garage smelled faintly like oil and ozone, even with the door open. The smell didn't fade. I decided to sell the car. Dealer inspection came back clean. Too clean. The tech said it was one of the tightest engines he'd seen for its mileage. Asked if it had been rebuilt. I said no. He said, someone took real care of this. While signing paperwork, he paused and asked if I'd done any recent work. I told him about the shop. He asked for the name. I couldn't remember it. That bothered me more than it should have. A week later, the dealer called. Said the car wouldn't start. No faults, no codes, just dead. They asked if I could come by. When I got there, the hood was open. Parts I recognized were gone. Not removed, undone. Like they'd been returned to a previous state. Bolts loosened just enough to fail. On the windshield was a carbon copy slip. Same handwriting, different signature. Mine was there, faintly, like an impression left behind. Over it, heavier, was another name. Frank. Below that, written carefully, customer declined completion. The dealer asked me what it meant. I told him I didn't know. I walked home. That night, I heard a car idle outside my house for a long time. Smooth. Quiet. Then drive off. My garage smelled normal again. The next morning, there was no receipt, just a single oil stain on the concrete, perfectly centered, like something had been measured. I got locked out on a Tuesday, which already felt wrong. Nothing dramatic. I stepped out to grab a package from the end of the hall, heard my door click shut behind me, and felt that familiar, stupid drop in the stomach. Phone, wallet, keys, inside. Apartment 3B, 3rd floor. Beige hallway that always smelled like old carpet and lemon cleaner. I knocked on my own door a few times out of habit, like it might answer back. Nothing. The building was quiet in that weekday afternoon way. Everyone at work, HVAC humming behind the walls. I walked down to the stairwell to see if anyone was around. No luck. Called the locksmith I found online. Local number. He said 20 minutes. While I waited, I sat on the floor across from my door. The hallway lights flickered once, then settled. I remember noticing a scuff on my doorframe I hadn't seen before, a thin vertical mark near the lock, like someone had dragged something metal there. I told myself it was old. The locksmith showed up late, mid-40s, tired eyes, uniform shirt with a stitched name I didn't read. He hauled his toolbox down the hall and stopped short when he saw me sitting there. Locked out? He asked. Yeah, 3B. He looked at the door, then at me, then back at the door. Too long. Anyone else inside? He asked. No, I said. Just me. No, I live alone. He didn't respond right away. He crouched by the lock, ran a thumb over the scuff mark, then stood back up. You sure? He said. Because this lock was turned from the inside. I laughed because that sounded impossible. That doesn't make sense. I pulled it shut. He gave me a look that wasn't accusing, just careful. Deadbolt's engaged. That's not spring-loaded. I told him maybe I did it without thinking. He shrugged like he'd heard that answer before. He started setting up his tools. As he worked, he kept glancing down the hallway. Once, he paused and asked me again, quieter this time. You didn't have someone over? No, I said. Why? He didn't answer. He leaned closer to the door, pressed his ear near the frame, then straightened up. Someone's moving in there, he said. He said it like it was a minor inconvenience, like hearing a TV through the wall. I stood up so fast I got lightheaded. That's not possible, I said. I was gone for maybe 30 seconds. He didn't argue. He knocked on my door with his knuckles. Not hard, just enough to be polite. Hello? He called. Locksmith? Nothing. We both stood there, listening. At first, I heard nothing but the building settling. Then, something faint. A soft sound, like a shoe brushing carpet. Inside my apartment, moving from the living room toward the hallway. My throat went dry. Maybe it's the pipes, I said, even though I knew where my pipes ran. The locksmith shook his head. Pipes don't stop when you knock. He took a step back from the door. You got a friend with a key? No. A super? Off-site. Another sound came from inside, this one closer. A dull bump, like someone leaning a shoulder against a wall, right behind the door. The locksmith lowered his voice. Sir, I need you to be straight with me. Is there any chance someone's inside who shouldn't be? I thought about saying no again. Instead, I said, I don't know. That seemed to change things. He closed his toolbox. I'm not opening it yet, he said. If someone's inside, that's not my problem to create. I felt heat rise in my face. It's my apartment. Exactly. From inside, the deadbolt turned slightly. Not all the way, just enough to click. We both heard it. Neither of us moved. Then a voice spoke through the door. Close, calm. He doesn't live alone, it said. The locksmith backed up until his shoulders hit the opposite wall. I pressed myself against the stairwell door, heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Who is that? The locksmith called. Silence. I realized then that the voice hadn't sounded muffled. It sounded like it was in the hallway already. The locksmith pulled out his phone. I'm calling this in, he said. This is turning into something else. Before he could dial, my door unlocked. The handle turned slowly, carefully, like whoever was doing it didn't want to make noise. The door opened a few inches. I expected to see someone standing there. There was no one. The apartment was dark, lights off, curtains drawn. I could see my hallway mirror at the far end, reflecting the open door and us standing outside it. The locksmith whispered, "That's not right." From somewhere deeper inside, something moved again. This time, faster. Bare feet on carpet, running toward the door. The locksmith grabbed my arm and yanked me back as the door flew open the rest of the way. It slammed against the wall hard enough to rattle the frame. Nothing came out. The running stopped the moment the door opened, like it had reached its destination and simply ceased. My apartment hallway lay empty. Same cheap runner rug, same crooked picture frame, same mirror at the end. Except the mirror wasn't right. In the reflection, the hallway looked longer than it should have been. The angle was off, stretched, like it was reflecting a different version of the space. And in that reflection, just behind where we were standing, someone was there. Not fully, just the top of a head and part of a shoulder, like they were leaning in from behind the camera. I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. The locksmith saw it too. His grip tightened until it hurt. "That's enough," he said. Not loud. Final. He stepped forward and kicked the door shut, hard. The mirror vanished from view. The deadbolt slid back into place from the inside immediately, sharp and decisive. I started talking. I don't remember what I said. Apologizing, maybe. Explaining. The locksmith wasn't listening. He was already backing away down the hall, eyes fixed on my door like it might follow him. "You need to call the police," he said. "Tell them someone's inside refusing to come out." "What about my stuff?" I asked. He shook his head. "Doesn't matter." He left without another word. Didn't charge me, didn't look back. The police came, 2 officers. They knocked, announced themselves. No response. They unlocked the door. They cleared the apartment room by room, closets, bathroom, balcony, nothing. No signs of forced entry, no extra shoes, no disturbed furniture. They asked me if I was stressed, if I'd been drinking, if I was sure I lived alone. One of them pointed at the mirror. "You know these things can mess with depth perception, right?" I nodded. They let me back inside. That night, I sat on the couch with all the lights on. I didn't go near the hallway. Every now and then, I heard movement, soft, careful, like someone adjusting their weight. Around midnight, my phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "You should tell your locksmith I stepped out." I moved out the next day. Didn't pack much, just what I could carry. The landlord said the unit had been vacant for months before me. When I asked why the deadbolt was replaced twice in 1 year, he said the tenants kept losing keys. I don't use mirrors in hallways anymore. You've reached the end of this collection of digital nightmares. That was LurmoStories, and now your screen is the only light in the room. Decide for yourself if that makes you feel safer, or not.